ASU football has a big question left unanswered. Who will their starting quarterback be? Florida transfer Emory Jones or the hometown kid Trenton Bourguet?
ASU was off to a hot start in Mullet. Can they keep the run going in the Sin City?
And Nicole Douglas with a historic night against Oregon. All of this and more on this edition of Cronkite Sports Live. Happy Halloween weekend from Studio 6 in downtown Phoenix. I'm Sammy Miller alongside Jonah Krell. And Jonah, there's a huge question roaming around campus all week long. Kit Kat or Reese's?
Well, Sammy, I'm going to have to give you the political answer and say both are good options, but there's really three that stand alone. Kit Kats, Reese's, and Snickers. But I think you got your fix on the Starbucks pumpkin spice latte, am I right?
Actually, Jonah, I'm more of a pumpkin cream cold brew type of gal, but there is another pretty important question hanging in the autumn breeze. Who is going to be the Sun Devils' starting quarterback this weekend? After their loss against Stanford, interim head coach Sean Aguano announced firmly there is absolutely a quarterback battle underway.
It was tough for them after the game, and it was tough for them yesterday. But we're going to move on, and I'm going to move on. But going back to the quarterback, it is a true competition this next 3 days, and we'll see how that plays.
Life is about tough decisions. Do I actually make an effort on my Halloween costume, or just throw on the Nash jersey in the back of my closet? Do I egg the person's house who gave me a toothbrush instead of candy? Which quarterback do I trust to run my offense in order to save my job? All pressing questions, some may be more important to Sean Aguano. For a pulse check on the Sun Devils live from Boulder, we check in with WCSN football reporter Kevin Malater. Kevin?
Yeah, guys, I'm here in Boulder as Arizona State's back on the road for the second straight weekend, this time to take on a Colorado team that has one win, and it came on this field a few weekends ago against California. And in that game and in that overtime victory, they missed one of their big pieces. That was running back Alex Fontenot, and he's projected to return this weekend. He was listed as the starting running back on the depth charts this week, and that's a big get. He was averaging 4.2 yards per attempt prior to that injury he suffered in week 2. He's missed every game since that injury occurred in that game against Air Force, and he's just a big offensive piece. He's a big weapon in Colorado, just looking for answers offensively. If he's back and he's healthy, he can make a big difference. But the even bigger difference in this game is going to come down to third downs. Who can win that quote-unquote battle? Colorado's only converted on 29.5% of their third downs on offense this season. That's 123rd nationally. Meanwhile, Arizona State has allowed their opponents to convert on third down 48% of the time. That's 126 nationally. So whichever team can win that battle has a really good chance to win this game on Saturday. Guys, back to you.
As you can tell, Witch's Brew isn't the only thing bubbling in Tempe. Let's take a deeper look at what Emory Jones and Trenton Bourguet have done so far and why each of them deserve the QB1 spot. I'm joined by football reporters Tia Reed and Jack Pearson. Tia, let's start with you. What have you seen so far from the Florida transfer, Emory Jones?
Well, we've seen a lot from Jones so far, and that's one of the biggest advantages that he has on Bourguet is that he's been a starter. He's started all the games for ASU so far this season, and he started a full season last year with Florida. In that season as a starter, he had 2,734 passing yards with 19 passing touchdowns, and then also showed what he can do on the ground with 759 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. So we know what Jones can do, and he's shown some good flashes. He's shown some flashes of what he did at Florida here in Tempe as well. This year he's already rushed for 4 touchdowns. So if Jones does get the starting role, looking for him to, kind of bring some of that out. And it's likely that that would happen considering Sean Aguano is going to be taking over play calling roles for the Sun Devils. Aguano's philosophy will likely be more aggressive than what ASU has used so far this season. And with Aguano calling more aggressive play calling for Emory Jones, which means using his legs more often, it's likely that we see Jones more successful in the game.
You're exactly right, Tia. And we saw glimpses of his aggressiveness and mobility in their game against the Trojans, and he was very decisive with his decision-making. Jack, you're up. What has Trenton Bourguet done so far to impress you?
Well, yeah, Sam, if you're Sean Aguano right now, how can you not start Trenton Bourguet after he led your team to victory over the 21-ranked Washington Huskies at home? That was probably their biggest win for the program since Oregon back in 2019 when they beat Justin Herbert. He was just so solid in that game, Bourguet was. He made quick, good decisions with the football, got it into the hands of his playmakers out in space when they can make plays after the catch. even when Washington dared him to take strikes down the field, he did it. He beat him with his arm, throwing plays like 38-yard strikes to Brian Thompson that set up Arizona State touchdowns. He showed his accuracy, completing 71% of his throws. He threw for 3 touchdowns in that one. But what really was impressive was how he bounced back after an interception that really could have been a game changer in that game. Washington capitalized off the turnover, tied it up at 38, but right after, Trenton Bourguet showed off his leadership and almost killer mentality, Sammy. He led a drive that was 10 plays and 82 yards. Arizona State took the lead and ended up finishing the job, defeating Washington. What a win that was for the program. ASU's 2-5 right now. They need to change. Trenton Bourguet might be that guy.
Okay, so we heard the positives about both Jones and Bourguet, but what would you say their weaknesses are?
Well, I mentioned those 19 passing touchdowns that Jones had last year for Florida, but he also had 13 interceptions. That was tied for the 3rd most in FBS, and he's had a little bit of problems with interceptions so far this season. He's got 4 interceptions to just 5 touchdowns, which isn't too great. It's one of the biggest things that people have kind of knocked him down a few pegs for is his decision making. You also see it when it comes to his sack numbers. A lot of people think that Jones holds on to the ball for too long. He's got 18 sacks this year compared to just 11 last year when he played at Florida. So those are some of the things that, may put Bourguet ahead of Jones. And additionally, for someone like Sean Aguano, who's trying to maintain this head coaching job, maybe inserting someone, who came in and brought that spark in Washington, maybe that's what Aguano needs to continue in this role.
For Trenton, he's undersized. He's 6 foot. Compare that to the 6'3" stature of Emory Jones. It allows him to see over defenders more and also allows him to run a more physical run game. ASU a little bit more versatile when Emory Jones is running the ball. Emory Jones also just has that experience that Trenton Bourguet lacks. That was probably his first real college competition game. He obviously performed very well, but he didn't play in the SEC under the lights and in big games like against Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, all those big SEC schools. So that matters, and I think ASU has to consider that when looking. But again, ASU's 2-5. They need to change, and Trenton Bourguet just might be that answer that Arizona State's looking for.
Well, thank you both for your great insight on Jones and Bourguet. It will definitely be interesting to see how this quarterback battle pans out and who will get the coveted QB1 spot tomorrow against Colorado.
Now we shift to ASU soccer. ASU soccer taking on the Oregon Ducks back home after an up and down weekend in Washington. And the Inferno, they're saying giddy up as the Sun Devils look to regain some momentum against a struggling Ducks squad. And keep an eye on Nicole Douglas. She would get going quickly. 48 seconds in quickly. It gets through the wickets of Leah Freeman. She'll take it any way she can get to break her month-long scoring drought. And she's not done. Here in the 22nd minute, Lucy Johnson, a gorgeous cross, and Douglas goes doink on the header. Sun Devils lead 2-0 early on, but she says, give me one of those cowboy hats because she's gonna lasso herself the hat trick, a laser that time. Less than a minute later, her 5th career hat trick, and those 3 goals tie the single match program record. We're not even halfway through the first half, and now 53rd minute, she attracts the attention and gives Eva Van Dersen the wide open lane for the goal. ASU cruising up 4-0. 73rd minute now, and Douglas, have some more Skittles. You can't get enough of the candy. And that 4th goal gives her the single match record for goals and points, and the Sun Devils win 5-1.
I think the biggest thing for me is I hadn't scored in Pac-12 play so far, and I know I needed to change that and prove who I really am as a player. And it's senior week, and I couldn't think of a better week to start my scoring goals in conference play. So hopefully I can just keep on carrying on for however many games we have left of the season.
While Douglas continues to break all sorts of records, there are more important matters for the Sun Devils this season, making it back to the NCAA tournament. WCSN soccer reporter Ben Paris breaks down why ASU's win last night moves them one step closer to that goal.
That's right, Jonah, and in the latest edition of the NCAA Women's Soccer RPI, the ever so important mathematical seeding formula, the Sun Devils check in at number 19 and should be able to move up after their win on Thursday night. Now, there's no doubt that every game in the Pac-12 is against a quality opponent, and that's why 11 of the 12 schools in the Conference of Champions are ranked in the top 60 of the only rankings that matter, according to head coach Graham Winkworth. Of the 4 Sun Devil losses this season, all of which have been inside conference play, 2 came against opponents ranked higher than the Devils in the RPI. Now that helps their tournament chances. With just 2 games remaining on the regular season schedule, it appears that ASU is in a solid position to receive one of the 33 at-large bids into the tournament for a second year in a row, and potentially even host a first-round game in Tempe. After Nicole Douglas's 4-goal performance last night, while Ava Van Dersen tied the program record for assists, it seems that ASU may be heating up at the right time, and with the tournament just around the corner, now that could be spooky.
Ben, you make a good point. No matter what sport, it's all about heating up at the right time. And one team that hopes to continue their hot streak after a winning weekend is ASU hockey. The Sun Devils were getting active at their new barn. And no, I don't mean apple picking. The Sun Devils swept Colorado College with a 5-3 victory on Friday and a near shutout 6-1 result on Saturday. Now, ASU is faced with the tall task of competing against the 6th-ranked team in the nation, North Dakota, on the neutral ice of T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Now, before the puck drops, we bring in our hockey reporter, Riley Swenson, who has everything you need to know about the North Dakota Fighting Hawks.
North Dakota is the definition of a hockey school. With 8 national titles and 22 Frozen Four appearances, they have a tried-and-true model for winning, and this year is no different. UND's biggest strength is their high-powered offense with a dominant power play unit. The team has 10 NHL draft picks, with one of them being star forward Jackson Blake. The future Carolina Hurricane is off to a fast start in his freshman year with 8 points in just 6 games. But you can't just focus on the freshman phenom. Playing alongside him is Boston Bruins selection Jake Schmaltz and team's leading goal scorer Reese Gaber. These 3 have combined for 11 of the team's 24 goals and are one of the nation's most lethal trios. Playing behind the guys who light the lamp is a lockdown defense, led by local products and Senators draft pick Tyler Clevin from Fargo, North Dakota, who won a gold medal with the U.S. Juniors team back in 2021, and Ethan Frisch from my own hometown of Moorhead, Minnesota. Frisch was named the NCHC Defensive Defenseman of the Year at the conclusion of last season and has continued his stellar play this year. The old saying of block shots win games rings true for this senior assistant captain, as he leads the Hawks with 17, 9 more than the next closest player on the roster. And if all that isn't enough for UND, they can rely on goaltender Drew DeRitter, who is coming off an impressive weekend in Minnesota, tallying a total of 72 saves against the number 1 ranked Gophers, helping the Hawks to a series split with their arch rival. The atmosphere on Saturday night in Sin City is sure to be electric, as the UND fan base travels well and will be in full force at what they call their destination game. With a game against Penn State last year in Nashville, and even a game against the aforementioned Gophers back in 2018, UND is very familiar with playing in big environments. The Devils will have a tall task this weekend, and will need to be firing on all cylinders to take down this college hockey powerhouse.
Now that you know more about the Sun Devils' opponent, let's send it over to Viva Las Vegas to Ethan Tuttle and Matt Venezia, who are getting ready for the big game in the home of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Hi everybody, I'm Ethan Tuttle here outside T-Mobile Arena as Arizona State's getting set to take on North Dakota in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game. It's some of the older players on the Sun Devil men's hockey roster that have helped them get here. Players like Josh Doan, Matthew Copperud. But now it's the younger guys that are going to have to step up against a stout North Dakota program. Of course, they're one of the best in the country. Ryan Alexander has been a huge help so far as the freshman has come in. He's already had 3 points on the year for Arizona State. And you can't forget about Charlie Shane as well, another forward that's been lighting the lamp. He has 2 points. So the Sun Devils are going to need a full-scale effort here. It can't just be those first-line guys. It's going to have to be some of the younger players on the roster too.
Well, Ethan, you're talking about all those new freshmen and their contributions to this point in the season. Well, in total, Arizona State hockey has 13 new guys on the roster, and probably the 2 most important guys are the 2 transfers playing next to Josh Doan on the top line. From BU, Robert Mastro-Simone, and Lucas Sillinger from Bemidji State. Now, all 3 of those forwards for ASU each have collected 6 points on the season for a grand total of 18. No one's topping that number for ASU so far this season, and it's also worth noting that all those guys are the main contributors on the Sun Devil power power play. And this is the same unit that entered last weekend's contest against Colorado College at 18% effectiveness. With those 3 power play goals a weekend ago, ASU's now up to 24%. So it seems like the offense is getting going at the right time. And when you're taking on a Fighting Hawks team that's the number 7 team in the country, who, by the way, just beat the number 1 Minnesota Gophers, ASU is going to have everything rolling in this building tomorrow night to take on the Fighting Hawks and leave Vegas with a W. Back to you guys in Phoenix.
From Vegas to Tempe for some softball fall ball as the Sun Devils look to avenge their loss at GCU earlier this month. And ASU newcomer Deborah Jones, she was vibing in the circle, keeping the Lopes hitless in the first inning. And for the Sun Devils, they were aggressive from the start as Jasmine Rolland whacks a long single off the wall, but they're still scoreless. And then here in the third, Kaylin McCarthy, look at the freshman laying out, preventing some extra bases. And then here we go. Yanni Acuna says, let me open up the scoring, crushes the solo shot to right field. Throw that pitchfork down. Fourth inning, another vet in Hallie Harger sends it just over the wall. The 2-run shot makes it 3-0, and the offense is starting to cook. In the sixth inning, Jasmine Hill would go to dead center. Business as usual for her, and in the end, ASU would take the dub 5-2 over the Lopes. Really impressive stuff. And the Sun Devils, they continue to find their footing with all the moving pieces and will have their final maroon and gold scrimmage on November 10th to close out fall ball. Our softball reporter Ronan Haycoop now tells us what he's seen out of the fresh faces in the clubhouse and how the whole unit is starting to shape up.
Arizona State softball bounced back Wednesday night with a 5-2 win over GCU. This was the second meeting between the Sun Devils and the Lopes this month, with the Lopes winning the first meeting 7-5. The Sun Devils came into fall ball with a lot of questions surrounding the program. After a Pac-12 championship winning season, former head coach Trisha Ford signed with Texas A&M, which prompted 6 athletes to enter the transfer portal. The portal wasn't all one-sided, however, as the Devils roped in 4 recruits and were able to retain ace Marissa Schold. Throughout ASU's fall ball, the offense has not been the problem. Even in that 7-5 loss to GCU, the Sun Devils put 2 over the fence, and more recently on Wednesday, ASU's order came up big with 3 different players blasting one into the desert sky. The main question has been pitching, which was the sole reason for struggle against GCU on the 6th of October. The 1-2 combo of pitchers Marissa Schold and Deborah Jones could prove dangerous for the Devils in the spring, accompanied by a solid bullpen. All things considered, ASU has pocket aces, and if they're able to perform, the Devils certainly won't have to fold this season.
From aces in the circle to aces on the hardwood, ASU volleyball split the weekend in Washington, with Washington State sweeping the Sun Devils in 3 straight sets, in large part due to ASU's 21 errors compared to the Cougars' 5. But the big positive from last weekend was ASU's upset win over number 15 Washington in a 5-set thriller. This was not only their first ranked win of the season, but it held a special place in head coach Sonia Tomasevich's heart. After all, she won a national championship with the Huskies in 2005.
With college basketball tipping off in just over a week, the Pac-12 revealed its all-conference teams earlier this past Monday. And there are multiple honorees on both the men's and women's side. On the men's side, junior guard DJ Horn and sophomore forward Marcus Bagley were named to the second team. Bagley has shown flashes of excellence in his injury-riddled Sun Devil career, only appearing in 15 games across 2 seasons. While Horn was one of the best three-point marksmen in the conference last season, tied for first among returners in three-pointers per game coming into this year. For the women, Kentucky transfer guard Treasure Hunt, one of the best names in all of the country, I should add, and third-year point guard Jaden Simmons were named as honorable mention. Hunt brings some versatility and tournament experience, and Simmons continues to lead the way as ASU's floor general.
I know we're talking a lot today about werewolves and vampires, but let's get real for a second. The decision and resulting ripple effect of whatever choice ASU interim head coach Sean Aguano makes tomorrow about his starting quarterback could have massive implications for not only him, but the entire athletic department. Things aren't looking good right now. Aguano and Arizona State Athletic Director Ray Anderson need a silver bullet, and maybe that's former walk-on quarterback Trenton Bourguet. Despite public denials from University President Michael Crow this week about the prospect of Anderson's possible departure, Rumors and reports swirled nationally about whether Arizona State might be looking for a new athletic director sooner rather than later. Aguano and his staff let a real opportunity get away from them at the Farm last weekend against Stanford, losing a game in which the Sun Devils scored 2 touchdowns and their opponent scored none. Needless to say, a feel-good story about the hometown 0-star walk-on QB that had not a single FBS offer coming out of high school, saving the football team's season would be the kind of Hail Mary that could change the narrative. It's a movie script, and it's just the right amount of imagination when thinking about a way for Aguano and Anderson to maybe change their fortunes. This is not to say that Aguano may not decide to stick with Emory Jones under center and see where that takes him, but you tell me, is former 4-star starting quarterback keeps job and does okay a movie you'd pay to go and see? Me either. And that's the way it is.
And this is Top Plays. And for number 3, Eva Van Dersen with the pass to Nicole Douglas for the strike. And that would be the hat trick in the 5-1 win over Oregon. But stay tuned for more of the Douglas Show.
And for number 2, it's time for some moonlit madness. Devin Cambridge with the slam dunk over his brother Desmond, who is on a bike.
And we said there would be more from Nicole Douglas. Here it is. Patience is key, though, as Gabby Rennie tracks down the ball deep in Oregon zone. Wait for it. She finds the streaking Nicole Douglas, who curls it in, setting the ASU single match goal and points record. I mean, folks, she's just insane.
Well, it's all the time we have today on this edition of Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Sammy Miller. That's Jonah Krell. Happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe and enjoy lots of candy.